People often say to me, do you mind not doing that to my wife? No. They often say to me, why do you love Las Vegas? And I say, because it's an artifice. It's sand that's been turned into the American dream. Here we are at Venice, the Venetian hotel. At the time, it was the most expensive and biggest property in the world, with Palazzo next door, more rooms, 7,000 rooms. Across the street is Mirage. Look at this. They're just about to knock it down and build a big guitar. A perfectly fine hotel that in England had probably got another 100 years in it. Not here. They're going to smash it to the ground, get rid of everything inside and start again. As we look at the gondolas here at Venetian, you see pure escapism. A world that I like being in. It's not the real world. That's what's magical about it. The reason I love this fakery is that it takes you to another planet. It gets you away from the reality of war, the depression of financial restraints and what this government's doing to people with the fuel prices and energy bills that on April 1st, Fool's Day, led to a £2,000 pay rise for politicians. The irony is palpable. As we stand here today, I wonder, what world are we living in where I'm called transphobic because I don't want to sleep with a lady with a penis? What a week it's been. We've learned so much, haven't we? A black man can slap another black man and no problem. Nobody's kicked out, nobody's responsible, everybody's sorry. I think that might have been a little different. If it had been a white man slapping a black man, I think we'd have had protests, people taking to their knees and stealing more money from BLM. As you know, my faith in the police has a lot to be desired. We've got a missing 1,300 files from my case that they won't release. We've asked them for them. Let's see if Nottingham police do the right thing or continue to be utterly corrupt. If you thought my case was bad, 5 arrests and 3 raids without warrants, let's look at the Met Police this week, who had a wanking policeman, yes, in the park, who was caught on video, shameless. And now we've got a policeman who has been upskirting in Primark and then caught with images on his phone of children. And what do we find? We find no images whatsoever of this police officer. An image of a police officer that should be released to protect children. Yet we see the mob and the goons from the Met and other police forces still going out their way to do anything possible to protect those within the force, even when they are upskirters, paedophiles, murderers, or take pictures of dead bodies. It stinks. It's disgusting. But that's not the worst of it this week when it comes to the protection of women. Look, Tarquin, it's one of the dinghy divers. These are the new dinghies they're bringing into Dover. They're trialling them here at the Venetian in Las Vegas. This young man has come all the way from Ukraine. He's not Ukrainian, he's just a singer from Italy who's pretending to be. We found out this week, didn't we, that coming into Dublin Airport were Ukrainians that were simply citizens of Ukraine and not in fact Ukrainians. They were from areas that we need to be suspicious of and concerned about. But we don't say anything, shushy, because Boris has got a lot of distraction to do whilst covering up all of those fines that he's had to pay this week. And what do? We turn a blind eye to Miss Carrie, who, as far as I'm concerned, is one of those people who seem to instigate a lot of these parties, whether it be the 18-inch meaty Mexican pizza or the birthday cake that were just so unfortunately by coincidence brought into an area of 10 Downing Street that these people shouldn't have been. In showbiz news this week, Whoopi Goldberg still thinks that everybody's racist, of course, which is the raison d'etre of this young lady, and we find out that Gemma Collins is going into Chicago, not the place, she's going into the musical. They've got Pamela Anderson, the lady with the One Two Book of My Shoe Tuck TV tape, is going on Broadway, and we've got Gemma Collins going on tour, £25,000 a week. It's going very well, isn't it? Jeremy Kyle's making his comeback on Talk TV, the regulated, boring station that will be Ofcom led. It's not going very well, is it? This is all during a week when we find out that, unfortunately, they don't want to discuss the injuries from the jab. Sir Christopher Chope, the legend, is fighting for people's justice and compensation. They're, of course, the ones that didn't die. We can't talk about that here. We'll have to do it at alexbelfield.com. All of this stuff we discuss in full, unedited, uncensored, and completely unregulated. alexbelfield.com. Look here, Tarquin, they're building a man cave in Las Vegas, making men happy. I do hope they've got big jelly wobblers in there and Jane McDonald on the playlist. Also this week we saw the BBC Nonce Factory stooping to a very new low. This involved putting drag queens on C-Boobies programmes. Yes, CBBC. That, of course, is the channel for children. Now having men in dresses with hair and makeup entertaining them on children's stories. I don't like this. It makes me very uncomfortable. It makes my tits tingle, my teeth itch. Oh, we're interrupting a performance. Look at this. Aren't they lovely? they're singing in Japanese. And all of this during a week when our politicians gave themselves a £2,000 pay rise as our bills are going through the roof and we can't afford to drive our cars. My Nissan urinator, just for pissing about in, hasn't been touched since I was in the 80s when the Barron Knights were still in the charts. It's a shame, really. You'd think in Sin City you'd at least get a sly sort of look from a young lady who was desperate for a ginger with a rusty roof and damp basement and button mushroom man sausage. And finally this week we saw that Ron DeSantis is still bidding to be the next Prime Minister of the United States of America. Our Prime Minister, of course, has gone shushy. He's too busy trying to get away with being sacked. Oh, good for him. Listen, this week has been insane with the notion that if I fancy someone who is straight or gay or bi, that's fine, but if I don't fancy someone that's trans and may have penis intactus or fufu erectus chopped off with the scissors, I am now transphobic, according to this poster. Look at it here. It's really quite shocking to think that this is where we're at in 2022, a week when we saw Disney's boss confirm that she has a trans child and a bifocal. Sorry, Tarquin, pansexual, I beg your pardon. She's in love sexually with her pans. I, on the other hand, am trans myself. I was transatlantic this week when I flew into Las Vegas. Ron DeSantis is now going to punish Disney and saying that we're not going to give you all this leeway to warp the minds of children. Bearing in mind that the trans population is 0.3%, they've done more screaming this week than ever before. It's enough to make you heave. Anyway, that is your news from the Voice of Reason live in Las Vegas. Do subscribe to alexbelfield.com and join us tonight at ustream.com for my new series beginning with Right Said Fred. Some people think they're too sexy for their shirts. Well, let me let you know, I certainly am too sexy for mine. The reality is these two men have been pounding the internet with reality and facts and have been completely disparaged by the mainstream media and newspapers who call them evil for trying to state facts. We get into all of that at my new series, an 8-part series with Jim Davidson's ustream.com. I'll also be talking to that Pimlico plumbers fella. That didn't go very well. We had an argy-bargy. Jim was a little embarrassed at how I spoke to this young man who didn't understand that you can get it and pass on the old coronavirus without having the prick or with having the prick. It makes absolutely no fucking difference. Could somebody tell the Spanish, please, who put restrictions in, ruining a lot of people's Easter holidays? Why is there such misinformation? It's crazy. Right, I'm off for a rub down with a damp towel. Thank you for your company this week in Las Vegas. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the sights. We continue into the middle of next week at alexbelfield.com exclusively, where we can actually speak the truth, have an honest discussion, unlike this infantilized, childish, edited version, which the mainstream media seem to love. The BBC Back to Death is knocking on your door, I notice. That Hugh Pym scaring people with a bad cold. Can't talk about that here, misinformation. Can't call somebody a farthead. We can't even say that Gemma Collins is a salad dodger because they will say you are cyberbullying. So we'll do none of that here. We will simply enjoy our time in Las Vegas and see you for 10 brand new videos tomorrow at alexbelfield.com and the phone in live tomorrow from 9.